Hey guys, I'm working on 19.3 consolidation activity, and before we get started I just want to point out this little starburst here that if you are working on 19.3 homework, this is an excellent example for you to look at to work on part 2 of that homework assignment. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So all we're doing is we are identifying the variables and then we're going to write the system. Okay, so we have a rectangle that is 4 times as long as its width. The perimeter of a rectangle is 50 centimeters. What are the dimensions of the rectangle? Okay, so we could really use whatever we wanted here. We could use X and Y, we could use length and width. Let's just use length and width since that's what we did in the core activity. Okay, so length is L and W was width. Okay, so we're going to write our system of equations. So we know that a rectangle is 4 times as long as it is wide. So the length is 4 times the width. We also know that our perimeter equation is 2L plus 2W. And this problem tells us that that is equal to 50. And we are done. Number 2, a farmer grows only corn and lettuce. The farmer plants 455 rows this year. The number of rows of corn will be 2.5 times the number of rows of lettuce. How many rows of each vegetable does the farmer plant? Okay, so we are looking for the rows of corn and we are looking for the rows of lettuce. Okay, let's go back and let's put our equations together here. So we know that there are a total of 455 rows. So if I take the X, which is my rows of corn, and I add Y, which is my rows of lettuce, that I should have a total of 455 rows. The other thing that we know is that the number of rows of corn, so the rows of corn is X, is going to be 2.5 times the number of rows of lettuce, which is Y. Number 3, a 100-point test consists of 2-point questions and 5-point questions. There are a total of 44 questions on the test. How many questions of each type are on the test? So we have 2 variables here. We have the number of 2-point questions and we have the number of 5-point questions. Okay, so let's take that and let's create our system. So we know it's a 100-point test. And we also know that there are a total of 44 questions. So if I take the number of 2-point questions and I add the number of 5-point questions, I know that I should have 44 questions because that is how many questions are on the test. We also know it's a 100-point test. So if I take 2 points for every 2-point question plus 5 points for every 5-point question, that should equal 100 points. Number 4, Maggie and Mia go shopping together. At the Fashion Bee, shirts cost 1 price and sweaters cost 1 price. Maggie buys 2 shirts and 2 sweaters for $86. Mia buys 3 shirts and 1 sweater for $81. What is the cost of a shirt and a sweater? Okay, remember that last question where you're being asked to find something? Those are your variables. So X would be the cost of a shirt, and Y would be the cost of a sweater. Let's write that system. Okay, so we know Maggie buys 2 shirts. So if she buys 2 shirts, oops, I can multiply that 2 times the cost of a shirt, which is X, and she buys 2 sweaters. So I can take 2 times the cost of a sweater, that she spent $86. Now Mia buys 3 shirts, so I'm going to take 3 times the cost of the shirt. And then I'm going to add 1 times Y, which is 1 times the cost of a sweater. And that should equal the $81 that she spent. And there you have it. There's your system. Number 5, the sum of 2 numbers is 12. The product of those same 2 numbers is negative 64. Find the numbers. So X is the first number and Y is the second number. Okay, so the sum of 2 numbers is 12. Well, what does sum mean? Sum means addition. So we are going to take X, add Y to it, and that sum should be 12. We also know the product of those same 2 numbers is negative 64. So if I take X times Y, that should give me negative 64. All right, guys, we're done with the consolidated activity for today. Make sure that you keep these notes handy and go back and look at them, because I remember seeing a lot of the same systems in lesson 5, except for we solve them. So you've already done the work to write the system. You're just going to have to solve them in a couple of days. So keep this handy.